ended up losing to DRX. They lost a game to DFM in their best of 5, and then coming into main stage, it's like, okay, maybe we don't have the highest hopes for RNG. Then they beat Gen G, who was almost everyone's tournament favorite, maybe coming in tied with JDG, and it seems like this team
It's
just
the
keeps...
best time for bold statements, Lyric. They just took down Gen G.
You know, Jad already made the bold statement about RNG winning Worlds, so I feel like I can't take that one from him.
Well, Dagda made another one. About
Yeah.
the third of the group, so.
Flaming hot take. We can actually see Dagda right now. He's shaking his head in approval. We won't let you.
Thought they were
Traitor!
We won't let you let that one slide.
Oh man, I mean, it is one of those things that, you know, without taking away credit from the teams that did actually knock them down in play-ins,
Yeah.
I do think that sometimes some of the very top teams in LPL and LCK teams put less focus on their preparation for play-ins than they do for the main stage, right? They believe that their skills are going to carry them through that play-in stage, and they really focus forward towards some of these opponents that they think are going to be very deadly, and that can cause trap games, right? You know, I'm willing to bet that they put a lot more prep for their Gen G game than they did for their CFO game as well, because those are the teams that they really see, I think, as the massive threats in these events. So sometimes you can get caught out because the level between these teams, while it can be, you know, different, obviously, the talent even on lower ranked teams is incredibly high. You know, and if you do make mistakes, if you don't respect the strength that these teams have, they can take you down.
From somebody who makes an incredibly fair, balanced, well-rounded statement to one of the flamiest, hottest takes I've seen on analysis. Let's head to Dagda. Dash, can you remind everyone what Dagda said? Just because I'm
What was that?
having fun with this.
I forgot.
First of all, thank you very much, Trevor. For those of you who don't know, we have a direct eye line to the casters over there.
Yeah.
So it's nice to
right
check in with
there.
them every once in a while. Nice little wave. Hi, gents. How
Straight
you
back.
doing? Dagda, they asked me to remind everybody what you said, but I think it should just come straight from your mouth.
Flaming. hot
RNG
take.
are the greatest team to have ever existed.
All right, well, maybe while we play a game, production can go back and pull some replay footage of that flaming hot take, and we'll just let it play out on its own. I wanted to play a quick game. I don't know if
While
you
we're
guys
waiting.
know this. Yeah, while we're waiting for, and don't worry, we'll update you with any updates on the pauses as it comes. What's this? In case we didn't have a pause graphic, you made one for us. Gotta love it. Okay, so did you guys know that there are 13 world champions playing at this tournament?
Okay.
Can you name
I didn't
all
know
of them?
that.
Yeah, that should be. Actually, let's just try and do
Yeah,
it
let's
as a
write
team,
it down.
because I actually haven't been given the names.
Okay.
This has only
Okay.
been delivered to me. There are 13
Faker.
world champions. Well, let's write them down. So we'll start over here. Wait, who?
Oh.
You decided to go on your own. No, I think we should do it as a team. Because
Okay.
I'm worried if we...
yeah.
Okay,
Very
so
easy.
So
I'll
Dash,
start
you're right.
taking notes. Okay, so Faker is an obvious first.
Okay, I'm starting from like really early on. So let's do 2013, like Faker Impact.
Okay,
They're
Impact.
both there.
The entirety of
Yeah. Which is where I was going.
I yoinked my answer from
All right. I just received an update that tournament officials have identified the problem.
This was a good
I've
idea,
also
though.
determined that we can resume play, so we're going to hand it back to the casters. We're going to ruminate on these 13 players. We'll come back and see if we got the answer.
Azale?
the world champion.
I didn't know what they said. I was talking to producer.
I just
Go.
heard Azale world champion. I wasn't listening either. So.
Azale world champion!
No, my brain,
Welcome
my
back.
ears perked up, you know.
Disaster Dash.
True.
I'm
Yes.
still waiting to clarify exactly what the pause was, and if and when I'm able to share, I will do so. What I can say, New York, we're back on Summoner's Rift. Now, haven't missed too much. The point I want to draw everybody's attention to is Wei sitting from that southern quadrant. We are anticipating him pushing towards that top lane, and Rest is running. Yeah, top lane cannon. And as I'm about to get the update, is that Lyric bounce?
Thanks. Quick shot.
Breathe, you know, stacking the wave, looking to push this up, and it's just going to be about can they actually time this wave, you know, with any potential gank. Gemini, though, at the same time, is moving down towards bot, and they do have a level advantage. It feels like Gemini is anticipating a gank. You know, he's not actually positioning to look for a gank of his own, but I think he was expecting that Wei might have done a 3 camp and then down towards bot instead of actually going for a full clear, which we know that he is. So the read there from Gemini, unfortunately incorrect for him, and will mean that he's going to fall a little bit behind the pacing of Wei.
And I think a lot of it goes to what you were saying as we went into that pause about when you bring out the set. It's a lot about just kind of forcing these flashes, looking for these all-in windows. So maybe expecting Wei to be there to try to find that, but now Wei just going to play around the prio he has in topside to get a scuttle crab.
that one up, and I can confirm for everyone at home that tournament officials investigated a question around peripherals and are confident that players will be able to continue unaffected. So that is great news, as Wei is going to step into that northern quadrant. The wave is pushed into that Grasp of the Undying cannon in the top lane. There's already an early recall from Breathe, making his way back towards the lane. I can also let everyone know that people past the Castles, we gave us a big smile and kiss. He's so happy how the conversation has played out. But what I will say is that for the Flying Oysters, these early minutes of laning phase was really going to draw my attention. Their composition, we talked about how it can have answers into RNG's comp. It needs to get to those stages of the game where their synergy can really be multiplicative.
Yeah, I mean, definitely having the comp there that's able to come together. The thing so far is they've been able to get a ton of vision around their bottom lane because that's where they want to look for this aggression. When you have the Amumu, typically it's a lot about the all-ins for them as well. Yeah. But RNG's done a great job of tracking where Gemini is. They actually got a ward on his Raptor camp. They know exactly that he's up towards that top side of the map already.
I mean, you can look at multiple wards up in that top side. They know he's going to be clearing up towards there. They are going to be tracking him very, very effectively. Way now down on this bottom side. Looks like he wants to invade for the respawn of the Gromp, potentially, but Xiaohu's coming from mid. This is spotted, and it's going to push both Shun and Koala back.
This is problematic. We step forward inside the mist. Xiaohu's holding on to the glacial path. Look, plate secured, minions denied. Shun is already down 12 CS. It's a 500 gold lead for now. He will be able to make it back into lane with the help of Koala, level 4, but they are starting to get bullied and pushed around.
Absolutely. If you look back towards mid lane, Mission has not been able to actually balance the wave yet. So Xiaohu is going to be there just in time. Maybe you lose 1, 2, 3 minions off the wave, but like, who cares? It's not much of a cost there. So the timing on the roam, very good from Xiaohu. Able to sync up well with Wei, as we expect. When he is on this Lysandra, he has such good move timings. He's very rarely punished from that.
Again, and it's one thing that I feel like we've seen RNG even improve on coming into Worlds is how much they've been linking up 3-10 minutes into the game. Gemini now trying to do the same for Mission, but he's going to be able to farm up just fine.
As it stands, junglers not being able to have a significant impact on the flow of the game. Wei with the help of Xiaohu. Also got a small CS against Shun in that bottom lane. Clear that way back, still to a slight bit ahead, but as both top laners now nearing level 6, Rest is TP back in there. Very important to highlight, Breeze still has his TP. That early shove, that early control allowed him to get back early and make it to lane, holding on to the summoner spot.
Absolutely, it's just really, really nice, because I think because you are playing this melee as a regular matchup, if you want to play it aggressively, it does mean putting yourself at risk. So if Gemini gets up there, he's still going to have the TP, assuming the flash, you get right there. I do really think that be a situation where you get the early bounce. Really value a couple means of experience that they'll lose, but for me, there's just such an opportunity cost to that, because if you get ganked without TP, it's very, very much.
Yeah, you just fall way too far behind. But we also see on the opposite side of the map, CFO, looks like they're getting a dragon, maybe not uncontested as RNG's coming in.
Oh, look at the engage! They've got Xiaohu, but at what cost? Ming steps forward, Xiaohu's about to get dropped! First blood to Gemini! Wei and Gala stepping forward, white-blue guns chipping down and burning the Flying Oysters! 1, 2, a third is on the way! RNG looking for the fourth! Bandage toss from the stolen Amumu, and Shun's forced to flash!
RNG, they have the numbers, just still chasing Shun down! Being able to secure the kill, and even Breathe getting involved. RNG bringing everyone to this fight.
RNG are relentless and wipe CFO off the map. Breathe on the roam there. The unexpected 5th member coming down for RNG. And he's able to even TP back up towards topside, catch the wave, and they're going to take another plate.
The initiation from the Flying Oysters felt so good. They caught Xiaohu, but it took so long to take him down from that self-cast ult that the rest of RNG rocked up, and then they Goomba stomped on the Flying Oysters.
Yeah, and we're going to see here, right, able to get the dragon, and I love what they do here because they pincer in on Xiaohu, who sure is able to buy a bit of time with the ultimate, but immediately goes down. They were still able to get enough done with the AoE damage coming out from the other members that once Wei gets the flash into the Q, he gets the first reset, and RNG are just able to keep running them down.
I mean, Wei playing this out so incredibly well. Breathe even arriving there at the end. We can see back towards live. RNG even taking the Herald, so bad going to worst there for CFO. It was a good aggressive look, and I liked the initial pincer, but it's just unfortunately for them, it took way too much time. You know, the self-gas forward launcher, as you said, bought so much space, and now Gemini going to be forced to retreat out of his own jungle.
His verdict is being held on to. Gemini trying to step forward there on a little bit of a invade mission. Xiaohu now somewhat being flanked. But as it stands, Ferios is down 1,400 gold. The one small saving grace, they did get that Ocean Drake. So it starts there. The problem they are going to have is a 2-0 to a Ferios that is up 17 CS in lane, and it's got all of the tools around him. If you have to try and get to a Ferios, you got to get through.
Here's problem number 2.
Diego rests. Flash is available to him. Slicing Maelstrom as well. Jumped on, caught out, and goodbye, buddy. Get some sleep.
And for RNG, right, they saw, hey, CFO have control over bot side, Gemini's invading, all members are hovering around. Let's just get the hell out of there and go straight towards the opposite side, but Gemini still towards the bottom lane.
Yeah, and can they actually get something here? Koala does have the ulti, mission's moving down. There is pressure on CFO to at the very least zone them off and try to take some plates. But will they commit to the play? Mission is actually recalling now, so they are going to bail out. It will just be the one plate. And Shun will get that solo goal.
Azael, it's 2 plates secured in total for the Flying Oysters bottom. There's 1 plate secured top. It is, of course, traded 2 bottom, 1 top, respectively. But I think it is important to highlight is that it just drops there in favor of Breathe. That goal difference could be significantly higher without some of those plates secured. CS is as close as it can be in the middle of the top lane, but it's just a Felios that they need to be careful of. As Xiaohu takes a chunk, Chaos Storm is down! Tick! Tick!
Laser.
Tick! Tick! Boom! Mission solo kill Xiaohu!
Mission showing why he's
Oh! Firefly stepping forward, Koala's got chunked up, Mission's going low, no flash available to him! And Gala picks up the 6th, the pin against the wall! Gemini is going to be able to use the Keeper's Verdict, it misses, it whiffs! Gala sidesteps and will not be in more trouble.
Both these teams trading back and forth. Still, though, the benefactors might be CFO, because look at Shun in the bottom lane. Rest as well able to get away from the top side, so that fight offering CFO some relief.
Yeah, we need to see how much Shun is actually going to get here. They're actually TPing down to answer, so Xiaohu moves down towards bot, as bot lane was covering mid there, so they're not going to give up that tower. Another plate was taken by Shun, though. You can see only 2 plates remaining. And Xiaohu just staying around a really long time here. Gets hit by both sides of the laser. Flash forward, the ulti is dropped. He does have the stopwatch, but it is not enough. The gravity field, of course, is not actually stunning him up. But nicely played there by Mission, and then it's RNG on the response.
Yeah, Wei able to get involved here, and also gets locked down. And Scala, who actually comes in clutch, is Wei
Yeah, we
running
can't
on
watch
Mission.
it. We can't watch the replay. Mission is getting caught up, pulled back, punched in the face. And it's Ming that secures the 2nd of the game for himself. 7 kills to RNG. The soul is stolen. 5 seconds until the Infernal Drake spawns.
Yeah, and RNG have just committed to this lane allocation where they've kept Scala in mid. It's allowing for RNG to find these picks around the mid lane and into the enemy jungle. Sure, Shun's been able to find some plates on bot, but with RNG dropping this Herald, they might be able to get even more.
Yeah, another couple plates going their way, and meanwhile in top lane, Rest is actually going towards a build that I am really not a fan of, which is actually the Riftmaker cannon. Riftmaker Grass feels like you're building so heavily for the 1v1, in a 1v1 that you're not really even dominating, like you're already losing. Breathe already has the early mercs, he's well on his way to his mythic, and this does mean that your team play threat is going to be much lower than were you another mythic and another rune setup. But CFO looking to challenge here at the Dragon.
Yeah, they want to fight. Teleports available. Oh, not done. Oh, the engage. Ming is burning down low. The bomb will pop him. Rocket jump forward. The Flying Oysters group up together and Family. They win the fight. Family.
And RNG, get knocked down there. Nicely done by CFO. The great engage from Koala, setting it up. The bandage toss, flash forward, 4-man Amumu ulti was massive.
Azael, Flying Oysters want to win this game through fighting. They are willing to throw down, they are willing to engage. Despite being in the goal deficit, they stare RNG in the face and have chucked everything at them multiple times.
Absolutely, and I have so much respect for that. The fact that they do get pushed down here pretty early, and CFO just coming right back at RNG, and here it is one more time. Eyes on Koala, Fenyx top of your screen, uses Ming as the taxi for the 4-man ulti, just beautiful. Unfortunately for them, they can't get much more.
No, and I mean, they do follow up, do try to jump in, but all they really get is summoners coming out from RNG. Still, though, that's going to be huge because it sets up potentially repeat play. Xiao!
Repeat play, repeat play! No ulti available. Flash is, though, being held in place by their steadfast presence, smacked by a buckler. And mission's too far, too long, and cannot get past the path. If you look at the minimap, there's no response here yet. Wei will slowly make his way towards the bottom lane, and all the vision investments up top.
And if you look at that vision investment up top, this is what is keeping Breeze safe. Look at this line of wards. This whole section is pretty much entirely covered there by RNG. You know, giving him the safety to push up. You know, whether you're looking for a play over the wall with Hex Flash at the Baron Pit, that's covered. The Krugs are covered. Really, every angle of attack is keeping him safe.
Lyric, 14 minutes into the game, Tower First Blood secured by Flying Oyster. First Dragon secured by the Flying Oysters. They're only 1,000 gold down. It was 3,000 a moment or two ago. So that shutdown, those kills, the CS and the tower is really helping out the PCS representatives.
100%. And again, you look at their carries, they have a Victor, they have something like a Tristana. They're going to have really solid damage as we progress further into this game. And even, we haven't even seen a true 5v5 yet when Azale was talking about kind of the AoE deathball comp that they have.
Absolutely. I mean, Rest, you know, you get him in there, whether I like the build or not, you know, the Kennedy is still going to add a lot of threat in on top. If you can find that engage, if you can find the setup. RNG are trying to set up this Fiora, trying to buy time, because the more pressure they get through this side lane, the more danger CFO are in. Rest is paying respect, though. Look at that. Lights out. He's got no vision in this area, and he's paying respect to the fact that multiple RNG members are missing from the map.
Azale, I love that you highlight it, and then even more that the observers show it. Koala, however, steps forward a little bit into the darkness. Throws out, goes to the sand, Mummy, the showstopper! Into the gravity field! It does not matter! The damage is so incredibly high!
Ming, are you kidding me? Slamming 4 members together, and RNG want even more. Rest coming here to defend, but RNG are crushing it on the back of their support.
The coordination in that play was just absolutely perfect. Able to take a mid lane turn off of that red.
Oh, the Ring of Frost comes out. Chahu, one more shot. Won't have the damage.
They aren't able to get him, but you look on the mini-map, they at least are taking the Rift Herald. Breathe gonna go back towards topside. Potentially gonna have a lot of threat on this turret as well. And they're saying, hey, CFO not that far behind in terms of gold. They're catching back up now. 4K gold lead, but this was just so beautiful. Coming out from RNG, going straight to Koala, and then the showstopper from Ming. 4 people locked down. Xiao immediately flashing in as well. Wei following up. There's just no hope.
I mean, this was just out of control from Ming. He saw the angle, repositioned himself. Showstopper onto 3 more. Base breaker on all 4. Hits the haymaker across the entire team, and everyone is piling in.
Look at that face!
And I love it because RNG are one of the most like emotionless, indifferent teams we have. It's so rare to see them smile. So Ming knowing exactly what he's doing there.
That support set dealt more damage than Mission's Victor. Now, to be fair, he was locked in place for a significant amount of time. But that was just good. It also felt a little personal. It did feel like, sit back down, little one. Let's show you how to team fight.
Exactly. I mean, Koala getting some big engages, and Ming, not to be outdone, finds an even bigger one here. And has a lot of gold in pocket now as well. You know, 2, 2, and 7 has picked up a lot of kill gold, a lot of assist gold. But Ming is becoming like a true tank almost. You know, he's building towards the mythic, already has the moon pants in, as I like to call him, and he's going to be tough to take down.
Yeah, and especially as you can see on the minimap, he's actually kind of posturing around top side. Looks like RNG potentially wanting to thread up towards top lane with threat and engage, while RNG, again, kind of play 2 sides of the map at once. You have Xiao and Wei playing off to one side, while Ming being this in-between man playing with Breathe and Gala to make sure CFO can't set any plays up.
Towards that 20-minute mark, playing for the match control. Balloon the gold lead till only 3,000. He's been able to pop down the second tower in favor of the Flying Oyster. This will unlock, however,
Still be able to balloon that gold. Breeze should be able to do something just either by himself or if RNG make a slight pivot towards top lane. So I'm kind of interested to see where they opt into using this one. With Dragon not really up anytime soon, you can't even really use it to get any setup. So it feels like they're going to have to start kind of conglomerating to one lane and get a good push going.
I'd like to see them set up Vision on one side, you know, and then try to push up on that side with multiple members, try to get a crash on a tier 2, you know, extend their gold advantage through that. Because as you say, you know, there's no more easy towers to grab. There's no tier 1. There's no Dragon up right now. He's going to have to drop before that. If you want to get some value from it, it's going to take that pre-preparation of clearing out those areas so you're not actually getting flanked as you go to those more dangerous tier 2s.
Yeah, and it looks like RNG maybe going to look to do that on the bottom side. RNG starting to make their way down here right now. For the side of CFO, this actually is one of the points where they're able to find some advantage. Just inside. He does have his flashback up there. Yes, RNG going to get shot before he needs this time and hunt Koala.
Rooted in place. The bandage toss. Death Race 5. This is a split pincer move in the fight.
Playing it out so well, you know, it's, as I say, they need to invade one side. So they invade this section of the map. They start to clear out the vision. Now they have an easy towards this tier 2 and drop it very, very safely. It's textbook stuff from RNG. Re-prepping that vision, clearing out the ward. They know they can no longer retake. They're not really in any danger whatsoever.
Don't forget that RNG are one of the most prolific teams at 1-3-1. Onmyoji would love to hear me saying that on air. And they're playing the map, pushing the wave, setting up the vision. Then you have Gala, 4-0-4. Other teams 11 kills, been involved in 8. Sitting on that one goes to Gale Force and chunking down the edge.
Michao is looking for a potential angle to threaten them back.
I feel like CFO though might get a Breeze pushing in mid. Breeze pushing in mid with mission back. They weren't able to force the 5v4. CFO, you have to force one lane to not let RNG play out their bow.
There were teleport walls available. They were not used. Rest has his TP available. Mission has his TP available. RNG just brute forced the bot lane to take it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a great setup though. Trying to do the clear out the vision. All the vision now that is littered in this region. This used to be very clearly now belonging to RNG, but I think you have to agree. You know, the trigger, you are built for 5v5. It's not really been involved in super game and it's in trouble again.
Lost his push. Gravity field is dropped. Who's alive? The shot is time for Ning. And the RNG dynasty on that. One back from the shot. Rest will get popped. That's Lassie Mails. Come through nothing. And 4 members of RNG are alive.
It all comes from Wayne and the jungle support duo. Now they're going to keep up on the bot side jungle, and this mid lane here too.
RNG looking in this one, giving not much room for CFO to really get anything done. It's now 6,000 gold lead here. Way pushing the pace of the game just so incredibly well. You can see how confident he is. Just flash follow on that play, knowing all of the team is collapsing. They're all going to be there behind him.
Yeah, it was just a great follow-up of the communication between him and Big Shao, who's been able to buy a lot of time once he got involved. And sadly, I mean, you've been hitting on the rest build quite a bit, Azale. We saw not really a whole ton of damage able to come out from that cannon. Oh, Ming, maybe looking for it again.
Oh, once again, Koala steps forward. Look at that shield. Ming stays alive. Moonlight Vigil plus the damage from Breathe is enough to shut down Koala.
Shao
Sent
TP.
Backpacking. There's the engage from Way. Gravity Field manages to find a stun, but Gemini's forced to flash and run for his life. The flamethrower's burning. Shao's Ring of Frost sets up one, and Breathe runs down another. 16 kills to 5. RNG peel into jungle.
Ming baiting Koala into the play. They're able to find the engagement now. This should be barrier for RNG. I love the setup. Even vision down first. They're even going to send Shao to keep pushing it topside because they know CFO has no way to answer this play.
Absolutely nothing they can do about it. Red, white guns as well for Gala, so it's going to go down so incredibly fast. Rest's going to try to take a dragon back, but Kennen will do this so slowly that I don't even know if they'll be able to secure it. With Shun down there, they should be able to, and they will at least get a bounty off of that, but it's feeling like too little, it's feeling like too late.
Yeah, and we're gonna go straight to the replay here. Ming hoping to find the engage on Shun, isn't able to connect that E, and then Koala, I'm not quite sure why he went with that, maybe preemptively thinking if Ming finds the engage, leaves himself in a terrible position, and then with RNG able to follow up, look at Xiaohu coming on the TP flank is, we actually have something else not going on, and then able to run down the rest of CFO's members and just look at it. Xiaohu going in on one angle and then breathing away on the other.
Yeah, it's the coordination of the collapse from RNG, and you have to love how active it feels like Breathe is being in the game. You know, Breathe always there to make the collapse, to come in, look for the play, keeping a good attitude about
You
it,
have to.
having a laugh. Yeah, if you don't laugh, you'll cry, and that's speaking from experience here.
このくだらん話の前はフェニックスは盾持ち兵
The
だっ
one
た
thing
ん
I
だろ
will say
盾
about
探し
that
くらいうま
laughter
く
that
で
we
きる
do
は
see
ずだ
out of the finals, I also
Fenyx
think
は多彩だ
there's zero
テンプの才能
hesitancy. This is
こ
a
れだけ
team that
捧げ
wants
物
to
があ
win
れ
the
ば
game
安ら
by
かに眠
starting
れ
the
るよ
fight
ね
by being proactive.
よ
They're not
しよし
waiting
よ
for
く
a
やった
mistake to
とっ
happen
と
now.
と置いて
Unfortunately
私の
for
冒
them,
険
it
に
has
戻
pushed
るの
them
だ
further
こんな
behind
風に
as
横
they
道に
have
それている暇は
repeatedly
ない
committed to engages over the last, say, 10, 12 minutes. Ultimately, they've been punished. Ultimately, the counter blows from RNG have been sublime, and that's why they find themselves in the hole, but they do want to win the game on their terms.
Absolutely, and you know, I talk about it a lot with waiting to lose versus actually playing
Yes.
to win, right? And CFO are definitely here playing to win, trying to find these fights, because if you sit back, RNG won't allow you to stabilize the goal. RNG will take over your jungle, they'll take away all your camps, they'll slowly bleed you out of the game, and that's no way to try to come back. So CFO trying to continue throwing those haymakers, hoping that one will land, but RNG has just been more than equal to the task.
And this cannon, which was blocked in, I think on red side 10, not having the impact. It was into the Fiora, grasping the Undying build hasn't built out, and the only reason I do focus in on that, he has not been able to really join. The team hasn't been set up. Now, admittedly, the game plan, Vision, they've been bullied and pushed back, right? But it is one of those things that we saw the potential, and it hasn't been realized.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's one of those rare games where you're not actually playing against Exhaust as Kennen. Almost always you are going to see Exhaust when you are playing Kennen. So, you know, to me, this was an opportunity to try to go for a very glass cannon style build, really capitalize on the fact that there's not an Exhaust, get in there with a flat spell pen, and try to erase some RNG backline, but it's not the direction that he did choose, and RNG are pressing.
And I even just love the way RNG are playing it out since Kennen hasn't been able to get involved, right? We see them kind of ping-ponging between waves, Breathe, walks mid, pushes it in, walks spot, and just pulling the members of CFO around their base.
Derek, is this the RNG you were anticipating and pushing into the base? After the look in play-ins, there were some question marks. There were some flaming hot takes made. They took down RNG 2 days ago. They're on the verge of stopping the flying oysters. And they've already broken into the middle and the bottom lane. Inhibitors are falling in RNG. Currently, look unstoppable this game.
Yeah, RNG, again, they just look so
とにかく
good coming
お前に
into
家を助けるように言われた
groups.
ヘル
They've
メスは
retooled, they're
巨人
playing
を
more
眠らせ
aggressive, they look
彼女
incredibly
を奪い返
confident,
した
and they're sticking with champions that
我ながら
they
いい
know
考
very
えだ
well. I mean, pretty much across the board, this is a signature champion for each of the players in the Rift, and they're just making it work.
Now it feels like, you know, RNG just trying to make sure of everything here, cross the T's, dot the I's. It looks like they want to play potentially here for the Mountain Soul, eliminate any sort of a chance that CFO would have to come back, because it's very difficult to see when you're already down this much, ever bursting through that. So I do think CFO will have to kind of choose their moment, try to make their stand, look for some sort of a fight, and pray that by some miracle can go their way.
Who's good at math here? Is that nearly 2,000 gold in bounties just on the members of RNG's heads? It is close to that.
You're a glass half full kind of guy.
Oh, I'm a silver linings kind of guy. Ultimately, though, with 2 lanes of supers, 1 minute and 40 until that Mountain Soul, and now rest. Don't get put to sleep, my friend. You can just come by waving glacial path into the Ring of Frost. That slicing Mountain does not to stop.
And CFO, I mean, they can't even leave their bases. RNG control absolutely everything, and now with one member down, it looks like they have the confidence to push into the base and try and finish this game off.
Oh, how is this going to end? Mission stepping back Steadfast Presence would delay any further engagement. Ming's the man that started it all and oftentimes ended every skirmish. Showstopper's available to him. He's looking for a ride to go forward. Also watch Koala's Amumu on the right-hand side, sitting next to that Nexus turret. RNG, they're ushering the minions forward. The top wave is about to fall.
And Breathe has already knocked down the final inhibitor tower there. You know, they are moving up towards that last inhibitor. Shun is pushed out.
Rocket jumps on cooldown. That's not available. Flash and cleanses. He's going to step forward. That's the engage. Koala goes forward.
Oh, Shadow.
Goes goes the Sad Mummy. It doesn't matter. Shun, however, has taken down Ming. The Chaos Storm is burning. Here comes Rest. No Milsim available to him. But Koala does what? What? Flash Gale Force into 4. And the Flying Oysters are running for their lives.
Solo with another massive play, and now Xiaohu back in the fight to follow up. CFO are falling one by one.
Koala grabs the win on the front foot as the Engage ADC 4-0-12 Royal never give up. Will take down the Flying Oysters. And listen to the fans in the crowd. That was an entertaining game and one in which RNG demonstrated their fighting prowess.
And I'm just so happy to see this RNG at the World Championship, especially Gala making plays like that. You know, international fans know Gala as this big playmaker, dealing all the damage, high plays. Didn't have, you know, the most standout season in the LPL, but here at Internationals is where Gala always steps up and shows his best.
Literally cosplaying Icer.
これでようやくフェニックスはこっちの問題を解決してくれるな。集中力がないと言ったか。フェニックスはもっと広い視野で物事を見ているようだがな。
RNG were expected to be the better team, expected to outperform. I do appreciate the way in which the Flying Oysters approached the game, but ultimately, almost every skirmish in the mid-game was just counters.
Absolutely. I mean, RNG, you know, better team play, you know, Breathe, getting control of that top lane. I think there was hope for CFO if this Grasp Pendant could somehow have paid off in the 1v1. If he really controls that lane, is locking down the Fiora, but it just didn't happen. And Breathe was able to be more active on the map, was able to group up with the team when they actually looked for those skirmishes. There were some very big bright spots.
To help each other out, it fails, and then it just seems like their entire gameplay, it really just crumbles.
What you brought up about Liquid, it'll be, you know, something that I wonder if teams are able to see themselves and adapt towards, but also VP, they have always been that team that once they get the rug pulled under them, they kind of can't really get their feet going and have that momentum again. But seeing that highlight reel from day 2, Team Panda, the opening clip, we see poor Chrysalis, I hate to make him relive it for probably the 60th time, died to that shovel neutral creep, but I know that we see one hero get taken down by the creeps there, but how many creeps have actually been fully taken out across the 2 days so far, groups?
Well, I mean, you could throw a wild number into this one. You could say it's probably right, but, you know, I think it's appropriate time to take a moment of silence for the 129,000 creeps that have met their end.
That is so many. That is
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a bit of a farm game central over here in group stages. But Veer, is there a game from day 2 of group that you want to kind of highlight and everyone give a gander at?
I definitely want to highlight a little bit of T1, mainly the top 2 Primal Beast. It's giving me like flashbacks. Was it TI9 where he's picking Tiny, running her map, like murdering everyone? Primal Beast is kind of like his new Tiny, and whenever he goes through, he's like a complete. It's been really fun to watch, and it's like kind of much like his Tiny performance with TI, so very awesome.
Well, let's have a look at our bracket because group stage is all done and dusted over day 1 and day 2. So we got to jump into our playoffs. And in upper bracket, it's Navi T1, Team Secret, Extreme, Virtus Pro, VG, Liquid, and Polaris. And then our lower bracket teams that will be waiting to play later today, Tempest, Infamous, Nouns, and Wildcard. Kezu, I asked the boys at the end of yesterday if they felt like any of those upper bracket games could potentially go to 3 games, because we have moved on to the best of 3s. But is there one that stands out for you that is almost 100% going to be going to 3 games in your eyes?
If I had to bet on it, I feel like Secret versus Extreme is the most likely one to go to 3 games. The other ones, I feel like you have a bit more clear favorites, perhaps. I would also say Na'Vi T1 has a high chance of going to the length.
Alrighty. Well, let's jump into schedule so you guys know when these games are going to be playing out. There are 2 streams happening at the moment instead of the 4 for group stages, so it's a little bit easier to keep your eyes on all the games going. On B stream, it's starting out with Secret and Extreme, best of 3, and then Liquid Polaris. Tempest will be going up against whoever falls down, and then Nouns as well. Here on the main stream, though, we will be covering Na'Vi up against T1, and then Virtus Pro going against VG, then Infamous and Wildcard waiting for their matchups later in the day. It is a rolling schedule, so even though you see the times there, it is a bit of a rough estimation, depending on how long the series does go for, if they do end up going to those 3 games. But knowing that we're going to see every team playing today, and at the end of the day, having 4 teams actually eliminated from last chance qualifiers, T-Panda, who do you feel, in your eyes, has been the best at adapting in such a short period of time out of all of those teams?
Well, I think when you mentioned about Team Liquid's results in scrims and maybe outside of that they weren't necessarily having the best time coming into this tournament, they've definitely already adapted a style of Dota that probably a lot of teams are going to be looking, or already have looked at. How do they approach into these games? What are their drafting styles looking like? Is their play style different from ours? Can we adapt to it, or do we need to find a workaround? That's one of the teams. I think Na'Vi also figured out like how to play, how they achieve some good results. They're also not scared to try out stuff like carry IO, for example, and I think that also spells some confidence in drafting and execution.
Not only was it a carry IO, by the way, it was a first pick IO too. Like, they just straight out of the gates picked it up, so it was very interesting for Na'Vi. I'm excited to see if they bring some of that to their opening series today. But Kezu, very quickly, they are going to be going up against T1, so I want to hear some of your thoughts on this matchup and where you think Na'Vi and T1 are sitting.
So I feel like for T1, it's kind of important that they get something they want, but at the same time, I also would like a lot if, you know, from yesterday to today, they talked about, okay, what are the things we want, but what are also the things that we need to discard because they maybe haven't worked out until now, because some of their drafts, they seem a bit, you know, all over the place, at least from my point of view. But when they get the heroes they want, like this Primal Beast for Thompson, this Morphling as well, they look really good. And for Na'Vi, I'm very pleasantly surprised how well they're doing. I feel like they keep doing their stuff. They pick Silencer early on, some Visages here and there. So I think there's going to be a lot of fighting in these games and a lot of back and forth, but I will give a slight edge to Na'Vi.
Okay. And Phil, what about you? Are you aligning with Kezu, slight edge for Na'Vi, or are you a little bit more of a T1 fan?
I think it's going to be a close series to call, because I think T1, like, they started off pretty bad. And they have adapted, honestly, pretty well. They found some heroes. I think Anna getting his Slark has been really good if they can get a hold of the Morphling. I think T1 is all about, like, finding the right hero for Anna and Cooper right now. And if they do get the good heroes for them, then I think they do have a good chance. Whereas Na'Vi, I feel like they're much more well-rounded. They can play a lot more heroes than T1 can right now.
Yeah, that's going to be a very great matchup. It's happening here on mainstream, but very quickly over on B stream, it is Secret up against Extreme Gaming. T-Panda, I know that you just wanted to give some quick little thoughts about that matchup that's going to be taking place on B stream.
It's a really tight matchup. I mean, I think we've got one of the hottest teams at the moment, Extreme Gaming. How does Team Secret prepare for this series? And I think drafting-wise, that could be something that you could pay a little bit more extra attention to, about the comfort heroes of some of these players. And I just want to mention about the hero pools. There are 3 heroes that I have not seen yet, maybe inside the series, maybe outside this series. techies for Zayats, for example? Is Tinker a thing for the playoffs? Are we going to see that later on in the group stages for TI? And what about Bane? Where has this hero been forgotten? Where is he?
Yeah, I mean, playoffs are a whole new playing field. A lot of different heroes could be coming out. We might even see potentially some shifts in what the picking meta is. But for now, we are going to be jumping into our very first series. It's T1 up against Na'Vi with Moxie and Waga.
Thank you so much, Nat. I think we are super excited for day one of playoffs. I know I'm excited to be here with you, Waga, and we've got a great series to start the day off with.
I'm very excited for this. I mean, we didn't get to watch in our coverage any of the Na'Vi games earlier, so it took some time to look up how their games have been going. They've looked really strong. T1 probably looked a little bit weaker than I expected going into this, but I also had a lot of moments where they played at that high level that I'm expecting. And these two teams are quite different as well in how they approach the games here in the Last Chance qualifiers. So we'll be curious to see how the draft is going to go and how the teams are going to play.
I think a lot of people are quite excited to be watching. You know, we've got a couple legacy players here joining in with this very solid squad on the side of T1. You've got Ana and Thompson right off the bat, and of course you've got Whitemon, Zephyr, and Cuckoo, who are kind of the heart and soul, it feels like, of T1 at this point. I know I'm a huge fan of their support duo myself.
Yeah, I mean, Ana and Thompson are more recent joiners, right? But it's easy for a lot of fans, I think, to follow this team. There's definitely a lot of attention put on them. Are we going to see Ana and Thompson again make it back? Are we going to see Whitemon, Zephyr, and Cuckoo have success with this, you know, change up in the roster? And overall, they've been playing pretty damn good and their own style. That's what I enjoy about them, is that they have clearly an identity with how they play. They find their strengths and they play into it a lot. Which is also true for Na'Vi. Like, none of these teams are really just copying what everyone else is doing. And we have T1 picking stuff like Venomancer over and over. You know, Zephyr playing that. I think he played like 5 games in the Last Chance qualifiers already, where he played Veno, whereas no other team really seems to rate it very highly.
Yeah, it's interesting that we definitely have these support duos that are a very strong foundation over on the side of T1. But on the flip side of that, we do, of course, have Na'Vi who's going to be playing today. And we talk about legacy players. We got a couple of those here, especially with No One and Solo. What do you think we're going to see from these guys? Because they've really stepped it up throughout this qualifier, and I think it's surprised a lot of people.
I think that they're gonna bring it out really here and just do their best, because you got yourself into the upper bracket situation. Now it's just about riding the wave here and going as far as you can in towards the finals. And going into the draft already, I want to talk a little bit about T1 and Na'Vi, because there's a big difference that I noticed when I did my studies for these two teams. Did you know that T1 have picked Undying every single time it's been available to them? It's been contested 100% in the games that they played so far, and Na'Vi have not picked or banned Undying a single time throughout the entire Last Chance qualifier. So no surprise here to see T1 taking the Undying when presented with it. Na'Vi must have expected this, because this is something that stands out like a sore thumb here, going into the draft.
Yeah, I'm very curious if Na'Vi just has an idea of, like, we know how to play around this hero, it's not a problem. Obviously, the big ones that they were concerned about, Marcy has been banned and picked, I think, in almost every single game that I've seen so far. And of course, you know, Thompson's Primal Beast. And Primal Beast in general, just being able to have that flexibility and move them throughout a draft just gives you too much freedom. So, do you see those left out of that draft here? They're being not picked up, but the Undying being open. And the Gyrocopter is kind of interesting to me too, because I haven't seen much of this hero in the games that we've been covering.
No, Gyro hasn't really been played that much, but it doesn't surprise me that it's T1 they're going to bring it out. It's a very active hero. He can look for fights. When we were watching T1 play yesterday, they were really turning up the pace in game 2 against the Wildcard, and they played some active style carry as well, getting involved in a ton of kills. Gyrocopter, if you run him as a carry, can be that active hero joining in a lot of fights and not just sit back and farm. He also pairs up really well against Enigma, so the reason they picked this is probably already reactive. You see Enigma on Na'Vi, probably expected, because they've been prioritizing Enigma really high in their draft. So T1 seems prepared, Na'Vi seems prepared, both have their own ideas of how to deal with the opponents here.
Again, we have and we've seen so many times recently that life trying to get that main momentum come out of the laning stage, just ready to fight, ready to brawl. The Polaris game comes to mind, especially with the way that they just absolutely obliterated their opponents. Like, I think it was like 23 minutes in a 20-minute game. But they were opting for different heroes for that, so it makes sense that, like you mentioned, you know, having the flat cannon to kind of deal with the Eidolons, and then just also being very mobile and active in the early game. But flip side of that too, you know, you've got that Tusk over on the side of Na'Vi, which means that you have to be very conscious about, you know, what are you putting in that mid lane, making sure that it's not easily gankable, or that you're constantly, you know, calling out missing and thinking, okay, if we don't see him on the map right now, he's got to be moving towards our mid laner, we have to protect.
Yeah, when I see the draft of Na'Vi here, thinking about Enigma and Tusk, I'm already thinking that Spirit heroes could be good. Na'Vi also banning out the Puck could be an annoying hero for them, has great cancellation for the Black Hole, and also has that mobility. I think, in general, T1, they could look towards something like an Ember, a Void Spirit, or something down that line, as Na'Vi are going to go with a Tusk and Dawnbreaker as well. Okay. Considering they already have the Enigma, this is likely going to be a pure Dawnbreaker here.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're seeing very different picks from the games that we covered the other day, so it's very nice to be able to follow Na'Vi. And I'm curious too, with the idea that they are currently sitting top Group A, they're feeling that pressure right now that they need to continue just absolutely dominating, or
I think maybe the opposite. Yeah, I think maybe they're just feeling confident since they are, you know, doing so well, playing really strong Dota. I wish that we could have followed more of their games individually, but when I looked at it, it seemed like they have been overall performing really well in pretty much all their matchups. And they probably feel confident going against T1, but T1, they are a team that have a very high highest level. They haven't really been steady at it here in the last chance qualifiers, but we've seen it, glimpses of it here and there. So Na'Vi, they can definitely not sleep on this game, because this is an important best of 3 that they're going into.
Absolutely, and we do have the pickup of the Winter Wyvern. This is a hero I really enjoy, especially when you have something like an Enigma. Once Enigma picks up that BKB, you usually have to be quite careful, but when you have something like a Winter Wyvern, it allows you to have that Winter's Curse that pierces magic immunity and will be able to cancel it. But positioning is going to be super key for both of these heroes, actually. The Wyvern has to be positioned because the whole comes in, and then of course your Earthshaker, obviously, you know, you want to initiator or your counter initiator. And it feels probably like he's going to be the main initiator at this point.
Yeah, quite likely. You might start something with just Gyrocopter going in with rocketing someone and then having Shaker following right behind it, but most likely Shaker is going to be looking to get the big slam initiation, and Wyvern is covering for the Black Hole coming in. I like the draft that we see from T1. We already have something interesting too, that we're gonna have a core, either Undying, Wyvern, or Shaker, right? One of them has to be core, and when it's T1, they're so flexible they can probably put anything here. My suspicion is that even this Winter Wyvern could be a core hero in this game.
I mean, that's the fun of having Thompson on your team. You're never quite sure what's going into that mid lane. But yes, like you said, you know, a lot of kind of lane domination going on. I like the idea though with this Dawnbreaker over on the side of Na'Vi. The idea of being able to have someone, you know, doing their thing in the jungle also gives you a really strong lane too, right? But you have this counter initiation if they're starting to hunt, if they're looking for Drow's off, you know, farming some stacks or whatever, you can immediately have that presence come out from your team, and you can try to protect the Drow, or you can take a fight depending on how closely everyone else is playing around. This does look like a very fast-playing draft coming up with both teams, but I'll be curious to see, you know, how they utilize this this Dawnbreaker right now.
Yeah, Dawnbreaker is a great hero in the sense that she can always split push and be ready to join the fights. So you can have an easier time getting lanes to good positions, and that allows you to make more moves. If the creeps are pushed back far towards the enemy, opens up the map a little bit more for you to make smoke rotations that are less telegraphed. So it's a nice thing about having her. She acts sort of similar to a Ferios in many ways, just being able to join the fights. But I think for now, I think T1 are probably a little bit more comfortable with what they have going, since both Enigma and Dawnbreaker, their ultimates are sort of clustering by nature, right? Enigma wants there to be a cluster team fight, and Dawnbreaker has to jump onto an ally when she jumps in. So Winter Wyvern should have a pretty good game here, is what I'm feeling. And Drow Ranger can really shred her own teammates if she is ever close to someone and gets Winter's Cursed.
Yeah, it definitely feels like this is a game of positioning coming out from both the teams. Again, having the Dawnbreaker, though, with the global ulti makes it a little bit easier for them to execute the draft over on the side of Na'Vi, but when you look at what T1's got, even if, you know, you go into the initiation, you get counter-initiated on, you still have to be incredibly careful. And also, you know, the fact that Wyvern can just cancel out if this Dawnbreaker's trying to ult out. And I think that's something that you can't forget here, is that you do have a way of kind of dealing with that global presence if you're not necessarily close to the team, which ideally, as Winter Wyvern, though, you're going to be trailing around with your core and not off on your own. But you do have that option if she tries to lead.
Yeah, for sure. I like the ban that Na'Vi did, their last ban, the Mars. I think it can be quite troublesome for a hero like Drow who wants to sit back and attack. As we see a Snapfire picked up here, even more damage. Wow, T1's lineup is so fight heavy. It's incredibly fight intensive. You like the hardest farmer you have is Gyrocopter, who's arguably one of the most active type carry heroes in Dota as well. If you wanna join fights, you certainly can. Whereas Na'Vi look like they want to play slower. They have Enigma, they have a big cooldown they need to play around, and that can be problematic if T1 have all these heroes that want to just rush at you. And Drow Ranger, she struggles a bit if the enemy get close to her, and there's so many things that will just run at her, I think, in these team fights.
Yeah, this is a BKB game if ever I've seen one for the side of Na'Vi. When you add in those Snapfire Kisses, the Echo Slam, and all the other fun stuff coming out from their draft. I do like the idea of this gyro. You mentioned how active it's going to be able to be, but even before we watched, you know, T1 the other day, we saw the Morphling. Morphling usually wants to kind of just do his own thing, let his team make the space, but we saw a very active Morphling coming out, so I would not be surprised to see this draft with very, you know, low cooldowns just running at the side of Na'Vi. So I'm very curious. Again, they do have the Dawnbreaker. Dawnbreaker's going to be able to mitigate some of that damage in the sense of just being able to jump in with a heal, but I'm not sure what this final pickup's gonna be. We're gonna find out right now. Okay, so it is the Ember. We talked about the Spirits going to that mid lane, and that's gonna provide a little bit more pseudo-global presence as well, being able to just remnant about. But, I don't know. What are you thinking about this draft here, Waga?
Well, Nolan, Ember Spirit has a lot of work cut out for him, I think. Yeah, I was expecting more of the Spirit to perhaps come out for T1 there earlier against the Enigma, but I think maybe Ember is exactly what they needed, a strong hero that can fight on low cooldowns, because they already made themselves quite dependent on these cooldowns with Black Hole and Dawn ulti. But there will be a lot to fight for Ember. There are also good disables in this game. There's the Fissure, the Snapfire Cookie, the Homing Missile, and even the Winter's Curse. There's plenty of ways that he could get caught in this game. So I'm definitely going to keep my eye on Nolan and see how he can perform here. I think he needs to have a good laning stage, but looks like Thompson is going to be on that Snapfire against the mid. So that'll be a curious 1v1.
A lot of things riding on the shoulders of Ember Spirit. I think based off of simplicity, it feels like T1 might have the superior draft just in how all the pieces fit together a little bit. Who should we be watching on T1? We talked about watching no one on Ember. That's going to be very important to the side of Na'Vi. But who's the person that needs to be making these moves earlier on during this laning stage?
I think, well, the important thing for me here for T1 is that they need to have a good game on Ana, because they have one glaring weakness to me in their draft, and that is that they don't push towers very well. They don't have the best building hitters, and if you have all brawlers and you want to fight a lot, but then you don't have a good way to take towers, you can get into a game that just drags on, goes late game, late game against Drow, late game against Enigma. Those heroes will scale up and have huge impacts if you go to the like 35-40 minute mark. So I think Ana needs to have a good game so they can take down these buildings, and I'm definitely going to try and keep an eye on him as well and how it's going to go for him.
So how do you expect to see them apply that pressure as we do get our way into the game right now? I'm curious to see how Na'Vi is going to be able to, you know, make sure that Ana cannot get what is needed, especially when you consider the aggression that comes out of the draft of T1. And thinking about like an Enigma, not necessarily the strongest of laner right off the bat, right? Because they just have the Eidolons. Doesn't do too much immediately.
No, he's not the strongest. However, he does deny some farm passively all the time, so that's going to have a little bit of impact. But Gyrocopter, being a response pick to the Enigma, is one of the better heroes for dealing with it. I think a lot of it comes down to, can Sweden strong and solo make rotations and shut down the Gyrocopter around the pre-minute 10 mark, right? Before the tier 1 towers start falling, I think they will have a chance to maybe make moves over on Ana.
How concerned are you about this middle lane, though? Do you think that we're going to see those rotations trying to slow them down there as well? Because it seems like this Snapfire is going to come online earlier, and that could prove to be a little bit of an issue just because it is going to be more momentum, more tempo.
I think it's super skill-based matchup. I think Ember Spear can win against Snapfire if he plays correctly, for sure. And no one... Well, he's a legend on the mid lane. His laning mechanics are very, very strong as well. So I think this mid matchup, maybe you can help a little bit with water room control to just make sure that either of them is doing better. Right?
Yeah, I fully expect to see these supports making rotations, especially trying not to let that ball go over to Ember, because he can really take off if he has that vision, if he's allowed to sit there and spam himself. And like you said, no one, he is a legend. I know for a while it was basically just him and Sumail at the very top of everybody's list. Like, these were the two guys that were just terrified to go up against the lane. He's quite a good mid player, so interesting to see. It's a little bit of the, I don't want to say the old blood because it makes him sound super old, but it is a little bit of the newer kid versus the storied player, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. Topman is also a very creative mid laner. He'll play in different ways than you might expect normally. While playing this
Boy, yeah. They are just going right after Cuckoo. They want to get themselves the first blood, and it's looking like they should be able to find it. Just trying to keep the vision so that way V-Tune gets the first blood.
Not too uncommon when you have strong first blood potential like this between three heroes to just sit there, so Sweden Strong stays around with his tusk. Make sure he is able to get that blood, and then he goes bottom lane.
Not a bad start here. Going towards the side of Na'Vi, and now we know we're watching down the bottom lane with Whitemon and Ana. That's definitely going to be something that they're going to have to eventually put some pressure on, but for the time being, seems like Ana's having a great time. They can simply do this. They can throw out the fissure, they can put some harass over on Sweet and Strong.
Oh, that is not
have
okay.
To be aware.
Losing those Eidolons there, just a fissure and flat cannon, the Eidolons dying, it's huge. You're not allowed to feed the Eidolons to Gyrocopter. It's a tough matchup and it's hard not to lose them, but he has to try and keep them alive. Because those last hits, they give a lot of extra golden experience the way of Gyrocopter. And then you lose the effect of having Enigma. Usually you have Enigma, it means the enemy carries can get less golden experience, but if you lose a few of them to a fissure and flak like that, then you offset that impact.
I do see a little bit of that side pull here in the top lane. And they're going to try to contest it. They don't want to allow this to get too comfortable for them. Water runes are up though, and it looks like each one will be able to secure themselves this room. Both of them having their bottles already here in the mid lane, so nothing too crazy yet. But of course, I think people are more concerned about just, you know, solidifying their lanes for the time being and getting some more levels before they make any more big plays.
Yeah, I mean, Navi got that little bit of advantage on top lane, getting the first blood and then rotating out. So their top lane is already doing quite good. But last hits, the Drow Ranger is a bit behind the Gyrocopter still, because Zephyr and Cuckoo have really been contesting last hits together. They're synergizing their attacks here to try and deny the Drow a little bit of a fun.
In that nice aggression. Do throw the shards out, but they've got the homing missile, the flat cannon coming in strong. Not gonna be quiet enough to finish off the Enigma, but enough that he's gonna have to play very carefully now and sit back. So while this goes on, we end up losing Cuckoo yet again in the top lane. Zephyr trying to put out as much damage as he can, but it is proving to be a bit difficult all by himself, despite having that tomb dropped.
Yeah, he tried to drop the tomb when they dove under tower, but I don't know, maybe Soul Rip could have saved him if he walked away, but he was looking for a kill as well. Wanting to turn it around.
We have a fissure here in the bottom lane. Whitemon throwing it out. Need to get just a little bit more damage. Not sure if they're going to be able to... Oh, no. Oh, no, he's trying, but we'll end up backing off.
Yeah, stay safe. This is really a well-played lane so far by T1. They're not relying much on pulling. They're just playing the lane together with the Gyrocopter and the Shaker, and the two of them are just stronger at this stage. Mid lane coming in.
Nice play here. Whitemon making the rotation, has the fissure. They need just a little bit more damage because they don't have the scatter blast up just yet. The cookie, they're gonna use the cookie top, but it's a little bit deep here under the tower tops and has to be careful. He's sitting low, is forced to use the fairy fire. Shards will come into play, won't be able to quite do it enough as Whitemon will walk away after Sweden Song makes his rotation towards that mid lane.
That raindrop MVP on no one. He blocks twice with it, so he manages to stay alive on like 70 HP. Very nice. And he's not doing too bad so far, but Snapfire is winning the mid lane. She has a little bit better CSing so far. And of course, Shaker coming in is a tough gank for Ember to deal with until he gets level 6.
He's waiting patiently here too. It's just gonna go for a casual deward, but that should make no one play a little bit more cautious, knowing that he's waiting. And you do see Sweet and Strong hanging out down by the bottom rune spot. Just gonna provide a little bit of support for their cores here. Although Shaker sees himself a courier, he's gonna get a nice little snipe. So will be rewarded for his patience.
Yeah, patience from Sweet and Strong as well, who's sitting around. He wants a kill on Thompson, but not gonna find it yet. He gets found by Whitemon. They just kind of walk away from each other. I'm watching bottom lane as well, by the way. While they're rotating away from bottom, Ana has been doing really well still against the Enigma here. He's gotten more kills on the Eidolons, and this lane's starting out fantastic for T1.
Another fissure. Don't use the snowball. Wait patiently. Dodge out that missile. Cards coming in, not going to be able to go and block anybody off here, but they still go and just eat up these Eidolons like you talked about. And they can't afford to keep losing these or give them to the Gyrocopter. Ana's already having a great time on this Gyro.
Some hard trade on top, but nobody really dying. They walk away from the Tombstone. Navi are going to be safe, but everyone kind of losing a lot of HP there. There's Tangos on the Drow though. Just going to get back to HP. No one wins the rune trade.
When it's a regen rune. That feels so good when you're playing Spirit.
Yeah, it's super nice.
So we have the Snapfire kisses, so it looks like they're gonna try to do enough damage, but with Sweet and Strong here, it's not gonna end up working. Thompson now in trouble. He's taking a lot of damage here from the tower. Does have 8 of these wand charges. Is forced to pop them. And he's just barely gonna make it out with 40-something hit points.
Meanwhile, top lane, big chase.
Top lane, and V2 and 2 running for his life. Cuckoo's gonna have that decay up in about 2 seconds. Should be able to go and finish off V2.
Yeah, I like the optimistic play by Thompson on mid lane, trying to get a kill on no one's Ember Spirit before he hits level 6. He didn't manage to get it, but that was only really because Sweet and Strong was around, so no one felt he could man up, just go in and hit with the help of the Tusk. Thompson does make his way back to base though, and coming back refreshed after a little bottle refill.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting when you consider just how high octane both of these drafts are. That, you know, seeing a lot of skirmishing, but not a lot of deaths just yet. Although with Thompson making this rotation top, he does not have the Mortimer's Kisses, still down for about 50-something seconds. But we'll try to put the pressure down. They have the Tombstone available over on Cuckoo. We'll just drag the creeps over. And this does give a little bit of free time to no one here in the mid lane. So
yeah,
he can put some pressure, do a little bit of scouting too. As
bottom, Black Hole is available. They want to try for Gyro.
I mean, they have to be so careful though. There's the call down. Try to put out as much damage. They're holding on to the fissure just in case. There it is. There is no black hole for you, my friend. As they'll put some more damage over onto Sweet and Strong and get themselves yet another kill.
That was patience from Whitemon there. He was sitting in a tree line, shaking his fissure, ready to drop it whenever. And they bait out the black hole and get the double kill here, getting both the offlaner and the pos 4 and some damage onto the tower.
A little bit more pressure being placed on the mid lane. Looks like they tried to jump over onto Thompson, but with Zephyr making his rotation over, definitely did just back off for the time being. They realized, you know, we don't have to push this too hard. We can sit back, still continue. We've got, you know, chainmail that still needs to be picked up over the Ember. And Thompson just working towards that Aghanim Scepter.
Yeah, he wants early Aghanims, and he has great heroes in his team to send in. If we talk a little bit about Snapfire, she can really send in some dangerous targets. Ooh, a little bit of a fight. Tombstone drop.
Yeah, go for the Starbreaker, but Solo just says, I know you don't have anything to cancel out this TP, not yet, so I'm gonna get out. And no one is just casually walking up, but they are gonna cross paths over here in the jungle. They're hunting, they're looking for V2, and he hasn't shown back up to the lane. But not gonna find too much over here.
Yeah, he's sitting far back, farming right next to his tier 2 tower, so pretty hard to find that kill. Meanwhile, they're leaving Sweet and Strong mid, getting some experience. Thompson doesn't want to allow that, so comes in and nukes him.
Does have the rest of the team nearby. Whitemon could go for the long-range fissure if needed. Still level 4 on the Winter Wyvern, though, so Not gonna see any big plays just yet. Yeah, there we go. Just have the golden brace. The fissure over onto Sweetstone will slow down, but despite the best efforts with that, slight vision there, not gonna be able to get away.
Right now we see both teams kind of just tucking their carries away into the jungle and farming, and T1 being a little bit more aggressive going after, trying to get an angle for shutting down B-Tune's farm. Meanwhile, Ana is getting completely uncontested jungle farming here. He is the top net worth right now and has had a really strong laning stage. I would be a little bit concerned if I was Navi and try to maybe find a rotation on him when you get your level 6 on the supports.
Yeah, I was about to say, it definitely feels like we have not checked in with Ana in quite a while, so he's getting so much out of it. Still level 5 on Dawnbreaker, which I feel is very important that they pick up the Protops. He's like, can't quite get through here. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, don't worry, I'll block your opponents, and you too. Block everything.
Well, at least, you know, it's not just Toxin, because I feel like you'd be very angry about that. That'd be griefing your team.
So big timing now. They have Dawnbreaker, Tome coming in, and now she's level 6, able to join on the side lanes. They can make a rotation. I think Tusk needs to go somewhere and try and set up a gank, but maybe they want to fight mid.
I mean, that was what I was going to ask, is it better for them to get a smoke and try to gank Ana and then have Solo join in using the ultimate? Or I guess if you can get yourself V2, that's a pretty good deal, but we'll see no one teleport over to the mid lane. They're going to clean up these creeps, try to push them back.
Yeah, Navi are contesting this tower hard. They're not allowing T1 to take this building. Though T1, I mentioned in the draft, their tower pushing abilities are really bad. So Navi, just by sitting around and kind of spamming their spells, they're protecting that tower. No tower has fallen at 11 minutes. The map is still locked. If you think about Dota, and when the towers start falling, that's like the map opening up and you get access to make more moves. We're seeing both teams kind of constrained here by the fact that they haven't taken any tier 1 tower yet.
That's interesting to know. You can see that Sweden Strong making his way over. They use the Snapfire Kisses, though. We're on to the Tusk. The Snowball will connect eventually with Ana. But might have bit off a little bit more than he can chew, so they'll end up getting themselves a nice pick off.
Yeah, they're also going for the stack, going in and stealing the opponent's triangle here a little bit, and gonna check up, see that there's no stack on the Ancients yet. Of course, they have Gyrocopter themselves, so they could farm Ancients very quickly later on.
Can we call it a triangle still? I feel like we
can't.
The
biangle, yeah.
I like that.
Sounds better than
double damage on Tops, and he's got himself a Ember in his sights. Does have to be careful though. Sweden Strong is here. He's going to be able to throw out the shards, but still feel a little bit reluctant to go in because Zephyr's standing nearby, and now he has the Winter's Curse. So they need to be extremely careful how they start positioning. But so does Zephyr on the same side because Solo does spot him over on here. Whitemon standing nearby, does not have the 6 just yet. Does have the Fissure. They'll go in though using the Winter's Curse. Whitemon gonna try to help escort Zephyr out. The Snowball though coming into play, plus the Slight. It's enough to get the kill. Cuckoo though coming forward. They should be able to get the kill on Sweden Strong. As they drop that Tombstone, not gonna be able to get anything else beyond that.
They get the return kill. These are kind of non-consequential kills though. Like, you're not getting a big payoff. Nobody's getting a massive advantage from it. But no one, he wants more. He sees they can maybe kill the Shaker.
He does see it. There's the Fissure though, so walk away. Has hit that level 6. To quite land the Slight. Turns back around over to no one, but he immediately retreats using that Remnant.
Yeah. And we see T1 sort of taking a breather a little bit. They're farming jungle with Undying and Gyrocopter right now. Undying actually using the K to farm triple stacked big camp there, so he finishes that up. And looks like he wants to go for the BKB shard play in this game. We've seen different builds on Undying. Yesterday we saw a Crimson Guard Radiance by Cuckoo. And he's going to go for something else in this game.
I like it. I like seeing the dynamic builds and different things, but they are on the hunt now. As Navi also smoked up. I think they're hoping to get the pick off over onto Ana. He is going to get spotted by no one, but I'm not sure if they're quite aware. Yeah, they're not aware at all because they follow up with the Snapfire Kisses, but Solo, having that global capability, is going to be able to come in for the counter gank, and they're just going to end up losing Sweden Strong yet again. He has been the sacrificial lamb for Navi.
You see how they bring everyone to these fights. They know that it's so important to try and win these early skirmishes. and not allowing Ana to get shut down at all. He's still having a good game. They're protecting it. And he's farming with a Maelstrom too. So he's going to get very, very farmed in this game if they're not able to land successful ganks on him.
And Lace just moving away these Eidolons, but I'm seeing the teleport come through. They do have the black hole. If they get a little bit too close here. In fact, there are a couple heroes getting very close. We've got the snowball, the roll over onto Ana, the walrus punch up into the air. They turn around with the flat cannon. They'll be able to get a kill before they eventually end up losing the gyrocopter. So V-Tune gonna be able to finally get himself his revenge over here.
Such a good silence there coming out by V-Tune. He gets the silence over on the Winter Wyvern and is able to kill the gyrocopter because of that. So that was what they needed, I think, on Na'Vi. And they didn't even need to expend big ultimates for that kill, really. So they still have the black hole. They have 45 seconds until they have Dawnbreaker ulti. Oh no, Enigma.
You know, sometimes that just happens. What can you do?
Yeah, stuck around a little bit too long there. He thought that they would back out.
Solo. Pinging it out. Start with the fissure. Don't have the Arctic Burn. They do have the cookie though, so back off a little bit. Throwing out the gust, the turnaround over onto Zephyr. He's going to regroup with the rest of the team. They don't have the Enigma to be able to be a part of this fight. In fact, we're seeing right away now Solo, is he going to be able to make it out in time? Yes, he is.
Just TP out and you're fine. The Fissure was on cooldown and the homing missile not fast enough. I like that Na'Vi are respecting the Tombstone when it goes down. Don't fight under a Tombstone because it will be very difficult to win that fight. Even though it's only level 2, it makes such a big impact. If you don't have great heroes for clearing it, if Undying is zoning out the Drow Ranger. And look at T1 making another rotation.
This aggression coming out from them. All right, a good gust with silence, but be able to just get the launch off over onto V2. They have so many ways of closing this gap right now. In fact, in comes Solo, but he's just a little bit too late now as he's going to have to pull himself away using that hammer.
Yeah, talked about how good heroes they have to send in. I mean, you have a Shaker, you have Undying. Even Gyrocopter could maybe be a good send-in at some point with this Gobble Up. The Aghanim's first item is definitely a huge power spike here for T1.
Do you have the Wraith Pack completed for the Enigma? And we have the Earnest. So we're going to Blink Dagger next because I feel like they've been playing so defensively, they want to get more offensive. In fact, Sweden Strong, oh, again, he is the frontliner at this time. Whitemon waiting patiently over onto the side. They split up very nicely, though, because they don't want to end up falling. As now Whitemon fighting with Sweden Strong, he's still going to be able to get that kill, despite the fact he's saying Solo. Could be forward over onto Lace. He is not looking healthy. He's not going to be able to get this black hole off at all.
Yeah, and where's no one? During all this, he was not even there for the fight, so he's not able to be there and help. I think really the Ember Spirit is the strongest hero they have right now. Na'Vi, they need to fight around him, but they get caught out a little bit by T1's aggressive positioning. They're very oppressive, and look at the wards that they're placing too. Deep wards behind the enemy tier 2 tower, so that they have vision to make these important decisions. They also have one in front of a tower, so right around mid, they are very strong at fighting right now.
So how does this play in the next minute or so for Na'Vi? Is this just going to be as much as possible, try to dodge, try to keep farming up, or do you think that they should try to put some pressure down over onto T1 if they're able to get this black hole?
I feel like they need to send Dawnbreaker over to a side lane as well and just shove lanes more. Ember's here trying to fight.
It's 3 over in the corner. Again, they don't have a Blink Dagger yet for the Enigma, so this makes it a bit more difficult for them to get that perfect positioning. Although no one getting a little bit too far ahead here, having to be a bit careful. We'll go for the slides after sitting very low. Walrus Punch comes through. They'll get the kill now. Follow with that slow with the call down. Cuckoo continuing to just throw out the decay. Does have the Flesh Golem available if he wants to try to pop it. Thompson with those kisses going to force them away. Won't be able to relax in that little patch of grass. Those Seeds of Serenity. So just throw out some of that harass and they'll reset on both sides.
They back out in the end. Not too much happening from that trade, but Na'Vi managed to fight off T1 a little bit and get space access into their own jungle here and some time to farm. It feels like nothing is free in this game. Every second that they want to get for V-Tune to farm up, they have to fight for it. They have to pay for it. And that's what we expected when we saw T1 drafting these heroes. These are hyperactive early game lineups. And we're gonna see Gobble Up.
They're looking. Uh-oh. Cuckoo's like, guys, please follow up. Please help me. Cookie going forward. They also end up using that cold embrace. Keep him alive a bit longer. Sweet and strong. Follow up with the curse. Maybe not necessary there, but they still manage to get the kill. Cuckoo not looking so healthy, though, as he is going to die. The buyback now coming out from Sweet and Strong. They join in. They've already used that Solar Guardian now. No one leading the charge. Seeing Thompson. They don't have the Cookie available just yet, so he's going to finally end up folding here.
Jara as a BKB is ready to fight, but I think he's respecting Black Hole a little bit as he has 2 teammates dying already. Especially when Thompson is dead. Maybe it's wise to just back out of this.
Whitemon needing to be a bit careful here. Throwing out the fissure. Does have the echo. Will go for it. And that's a double kill for the patient Whitemon.
Wow, that ward, the ward that Whitemon placed just before this led to a beautiful double kill there. What a play. His positioning was clean. Ana was close enough as well to help with the damage. But he almost solo killed him on Shaker. He was just in a great position.
Go and see that replay again.
Yeah,
just look how patient there. They walk right past the ward, like you said. The call down, the fissure, the echo, and all the damage. Pretty nice stuff here.
Na'Vi getting a little bit too ambitious there. They did manage to reclaim quite a bit of territory, and look how much they've warded their own jungle. They're recognizing that T1 are very invasive, and they want to try and get rid of them, so they have 4 wards just protecting their own jungle, trying to create an area where they can farm up. V-Tune, of course, trying to sneak some split push.
I feel like every time I go and I look at these supports plus tops, and I guess Cuckoo is there too. Yeah, just launch Cuckoo over at solo. This poor Dawnbreaker is just not finding any space to breathe. But they're just so grouped together, and it's really fun to watch. They're just being super aggressive, pushing Na'Vi out to the side of the map. Now, is there a specific item that you think would really help Na'Vi in particular with these fights? I mean, I know the Blink Dagger is pretty important, but again, having to be very considerate about your positioning when you're dealing with Zephyr on this Winter Wyvern.
I think the timing is going to be when they have double BKB. They just finished BKB on Drow Ranger. I think they need one on Ember as well. There are so many ways they can get caught out, but they want to contest Roche.
See this line. Again, they just don't have an easy way to get into this pit with this Enigma.
Yeah,
Back off. They've already used the Tombstone.
Oh, Blink is coming in right now. He's smoked up. Has Black Hole Blink.
This is big. This could be so huge for the side of Na'Vi if they can get the initiation, if they find the opening. But again, both teams smoked up. Will reveal Ana. They can see that opening, making their way towards the pit. Cuckoo. Smoke will pop. This Roche sitting so incredibly low. Another smoke getting used. They want to use this just big power spike. Slice sits very far back.
They don't have Undying ulti anymore. Like that time out, now it's Na'Vi trying to steal Roche here. This is very cheeky.
This is pretty crazy. Whitemon throwing out the fissure will land over onto no one. But there it is. There's the Roche. It's going to be V2 who picks it up. They've got the silence over onto Cuckoo the BKB. But again, Winter's Curse coming into play. Going to slow down V2. But now this means that if they go for a black hole like this, they have nothing over here to really stop in case. But they follow up with those kisses, putting the damage down. A nice long-range fissure coming out. Cuckoo barely staying alive here. Is he going to be able to make it out? Ooh, 17 hit points.
Wow, it was really low. That was some really nice positioning by Na'Vi in the decision to take Roche. I'm surprised that T1 backed out as much as they did, considering they brought Roche down really low. And then they just backed out and left that area. They were being zoned back, of course, and with the smoked Enigma, they had to expect him.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's a dead solo. And an Echo Slam down.
You don't really need Blink Dagger when you have an Aghanim Snapfire on your team. He had that shard first on Shaker in this game, but already has 1,000 gold. Thanks to Snapfire enabling his team so much with his Aghanims. It's really a Thompson special. He played this very early when Snapfire got his Aghanims.
I would argue it's almost even better in some ways, right? Because you're also doing the extra damage with that gobble up when you launch your Shaker in there.
Yeah, it's great range too. You can send people flying, and also while you're mid-air from Snapfire, you cannot be silenced or hit by abilities. You don't really exist yet, and then you land and you're there. So Drow can't stop it with something like that.
It's pretty valuable when you consider they do have ways of being able to kind of interrupt.
Yeah, the full Orchid on Zephyr now. That is really useful for them. And luckily for Ember, he is going to have his BKB very soon.
Nice tonight from Zephyr. He's managed to deny the double damage rune in the bottom area.
Yeah,
It's still just a tight game.
both teams are playing in a very contesting manner, but I think now Navi, having this Aegis, want to try and open up the map a little bit. They still have yet to take a single tier 1 tower from the side of T1, and I'm not sure T1 can defend if they get pushed bottom. They are an aggressive team though, they might want to, they're moving over.
I think they do. You've got an Orchid picked up over on your Wyvern, you've got the Winter's Curse.
No, they're bailing out. Yeah, they're recognizing this fight would be very difficult since there's a fresh BKB on Ember, there's BKB on Drow, along with the Aegis, and of course Enigma having that blink. And he's working on his own BKB now, so I think Navi are slowly getting more and more of an advantage here and going into the mid game in a good way.
Cuckoo up over on top of the eye spot. That's the BKB like we talked about over on no one. They'll go use the Winter's Curse just to buy a bit more time, try to waste some of that BKB duration. Another slide over onto Zephyr, but he's got the Cold Embrace. As now, Navi, they'll back off.
So big to be able to force out the BKB just by an Orchid from the Winter Wyvern, right? Like, this is just impact that you might not expect from a support like this, but the fact that he chose to go for that as his first item, I think it's working out really well for him here.
That is something that T1's always hasn't been afraid of, is trying things a little bit differently and adjusting, doing these dynamic builds to suit whatever they need, which is why I think Thompson fits quite nicely with this team, because it is a bit more innovative in some ways.
Yeah, meanwhile on the side of Navi we see a little bit poorer supports overall, but Dawnbreaker is getting some farm. He's ambitiously hoping to get the Aghanims in this game, along with Holy Locket that he already has. He would have a very, very strong source of healing, and it can be a good way to save people when the Winter's Curse comes out. If you time it towards the end, you don't land up in the curse as well.
That's true. Yep, time it just right though.
Yeah, I mean, jump in too early and that's going to be bad, but if you have Aghanims, it's a very long duration, so you can honestly start it super early.
On this mid tower though, going down very, very quickly.
Navi getting some access to new farming grounds. This is Vinland. There's more farm to be had over here.
They're looking for this opening. Get the launch off. Follow up with the silence. So sweet and strong. Not going to exist anymore. Cuckoo does pop that BKB. And again, Navi just backing off after this.
Bit of an early pop on the BKB there, but better safe than sorry, I suppose. However, there's not too many things outside of Enigma that he has to worry about that's gonna like instant disable him. I suppose the Tusk was already being gone on, so you can't get jumped by him. But they do have a lot of stuff ready right now on the side of T1. I think they want to make some move. Everybody's sitting around mid. Looks like they want to go for a smoke perhaps after they push this creep wave.
Now this is an interesting choice because the Aegis just got reclaimed over on V2. Then they're still opting to go for that smoke play. They've got the Black Hole, they've got the Blink Dagger, and they're just kind of generally hanging out in the area trying to see, you know, is there anybody who's going to be coming for us? Because we don't have it. In fact, Anna's going to be the first one who pops a smoke, and he goes forward, sees himself solo. B-Tune, though, getting into position, throwing out a couple of frost arrows. You have to be careful. Lace waiting super patiently, hoping that they group up. It's going to be called down over onto B-Tune. He's going to be able to walk away. They will launch a creep, but there's the BKB used on the Drow. They're not happy at this positioning coming out now. They don't want to have to deal with solo. Not going to be lucky, though. That Fissure coming through, canceling out the TP. He's going to be the one who dies out of all this, but V-Tune will survive. And there's another just immediate smoke coming out from the side of T1.
That blink in behind the lane, he didn't have any fear on Ana. He just went in, and I like the confidence that they show there. They want to be aggressive early on here, because the later the game goes, the more it's going to be like just favoring Navi due to the draft that they have. I think the Enigma is a hero that you can't sleep on. You need to be aggressive early, and they're now moving for a tier 2 tower. That would really give them access to the top tower, or the top jungle, with the outpost going to go there.
We were talking about earlier how it was a bit difficult for T1 to be able to push these towers, but they've hit that point. They've hit the momentum where they can easily put the damage down, and they can also just position their supports and tops and to take advantage of the maximum space that they're getting.
Yeah. so many players on Navi were actually in the jungle or not showing on the map that T1 backed out a bit. They're hesitant to take the tier 2 tower yet, but now they finally see that there's some push coming in bottom, and of course they've been seeing the Ember pushing mid. They're gonna go for a tier 2 and finish it.
Alright, well, tier 2 down, that opens up the outpost. That means they have complete control over the dire side of the map. Once it comes to the top area. So it's gonna make things a little bit more difficult. It means that we're already seeing no one who's going for that riskier farm because he is the one hero that does have the easy escape. Provided he doesn't get jumped on by Zephyr with the or given one.
Yeah, the scary thing for him would be a chain stun by like Zephyr using ulti and then like Shaker following up with chain stun and him dying to just Jark off the Snapfire during that time. But he can of course be quite aggressive, and now he's very close to...
鏡はいるか？
あの時は飲みすぎてたんだ。
あれはパリスのせいじゃない。ヘラは彼にアジアの王の座と巨万の富を、アテナは戦争での栄光と名声を与えると言った。だがこの世の誰も真実の愛というアフロディーテの賄賂には抗えない。
ああ、そうだな。パリスが望んだのはスパルタのヘレネの愛だ。
つまり彼は最も美しい女性を選ぶという仕事をきちんと果たしたわけだ。そしてトロイア戦争が始まった。
私はあのリンゴがとても欲しかった。本当に欲しくて欲しくて、リンゴのために戦争まで起こしてしまった。ゼウスに見せるために。その後のことは全部私の責任よ。
生まれ持った心に従ったのね、アフロディーテ。
だから私はエッセンスを取り戻さない方がいいのよ。私の心は痛みしか生まない。
それは違うわ、アフロディーテ。物事には必ず裏と表があるの。あなたの情熱と気まぐれ、それに妬みとうぬぼれ。確かに痛みを生み出したわ。でもその心が他に何を生み出したか知ってる？何よりも素晴らしい最高の冒険や演劇、物語よ。私は語り手なの。そうよ。確かに家にこもってれば安全だけど、どんなものだって鮮やかな世界で見た方がもっとずっと美しいわ。情熱には痛みを受けるだけの価値があるの。
あの迷宮にあるのは私の素のままの妬みや暗い心よ。もしあなたを入れたらみんなが私を非難するわ。前はそうだったもの。アフロディーテ、少しは抑えなさい。アフロディーテ、お前は手に負えない。アフロディーテ、お前は問題ばかり起こす。やりすぎだって。
誰が言ったか知らないけど、あなたに謝るべきよ、嫌なやつ。
そんなつもりではなかった。
本当か？
私や誰かの愛を得るために戦う必要はないよ。あなたは十分素敵だもの。とにかくそんなに美しくて性格も完璧だとね、その正直言ってちょっとイラッとするのよ。
わかった。目をどかしましょう。お願い。行く前にこの祝福を受け取ってちょうだい。神々のヒラまで会いましょう。離れなさい、お前たち。もうたくさんだわ。どうして仕事を探しに行かないの？
ヘルメスとアフロディーテがあんなに親しいとは知らなかったぞ。
彼らには子供もいる。
本当か？性別は？
ない。
ああ、そうか。ノンバイナリーってやつだな。
よく知ってるな。
私はアンフォラを集めているんだぞ。このくらいわかる。
Making sure that he's taking the more dangerous farm, but I'm sure it feels very bad to be having to play this defensive, but now with an Aegis picked up too. I don't know if Na'Vi, like, what options do they have? All right, there's an option right there. As we talked about, no one trying to get in there, trying to get the kill on Zephyr, does manage to take out both of the supports very, very quickly. BKB getting popped on Cuckoo. Ana waiting nearby is just gonna blink away. Not without these two supports. It's too dangerous, it feels.
What a Chad play by No One. Just going in, executing both the supports almost completely by himself there as well. That was a really nice play. I think he initially just wanted to go in to try and smoke reveal, but he ended up just murdering both the supports because they were clustered next to each other. And he has the shard as well. Yeah, look at this
the
play.
Replay going through the initiation, but then the immediate response coming out from the Ember. Popping the BKB realizing that